joined by Head of State Operations Jackie Bray. I just concluded a meeting with Border Czar Tom Homan. He came here because I initiated a conversation about our deep concerns about immigration enforcement in the state of New York while I was in the White House about 2 weeks ago. And as a result of that, we spoke on the phone, and he decided he would come see me in person, so I extended that invitation. But I took the opportunity to make our position clear. First of all, I do not support open borders. We want to make sure that our borders are safe and secure. I do not support having individuals who've committed violent crimes remain in our state. They should be deported. But I also believe in a pathway to citizenship and the opportunities for people who are already here, who came with legal status, who were welcomed at the door and given a legal document, a pathway to citizenship through asylum. I want those individuals to be able to work. We talked about work permits and how important that is to be able to allow them to work on our farms and in hospitality and in healthcare and all the jobs that are going unfilled now. And I will also say that I spoke about the incident in Buffalo, how horrific it was, and I comforted the mother of the wife of the refugee who was blind and left abandoned at a Tim Hortons a few weeks ago during a very cold night, and that led to his death. And we gave him a list of names of family members left in Myanmar and asked that they be given visas so they can be united. This is the sobbing widow's request to me. So I said we would pursue that as well. And we also provided the names of a number of students who are in detention that we would like to see released. I'd also mentioned how we do not want to see any large-scale detention centers or expansions of detention centers here in the state of New York. That has created anxiety all the way from Orange County to Suffolk County to the North Country and Rochester. So I raised those issues as well. That is basically the context of the conversation. It was an important conversation to be had for him to hear directly from me the concerns I have on behalf of New Yorkers as I continue my prime responsibility, which is to keep New Yorkers safe. And I will not be disclosing his side of the conversation. I'm just telling you what I raised with him. But if there's any quick questions on topic, I am very delayed right now. Need to get to Central New York. There.
Obviously, you're not going to raise what Mr. Holman talked about, but was there any discussion about some of the guardrail legislation on deportations that have been negotiated with them?
Not on the legislation specifically, but just conversation about what happens after people have served their time in our prisons. And yes, we have a path where someone has committed a crime and served their time that we already are in the we already do as current law. Have them removed by ICE. That is the law that's been in place for years. And we had a brief conversation about jails, but I was not getting into specifics about the bills I've introduced. That is something we will do here in the state of New York, independent of Washington.
Previously, you said that the president's people have assured you that they won't send in, Minnesota-type enforcement to New York unless you ask for it. Is there anything that happened in this meeting that changes that? Did you discuss that at all with Mr. Holman?
Yes. I did raise to reinforce the president's position. While I had his border czar with me, I said, as you know, the president in the White House, when I was there a few weeks ago, did say that he would not engage in a large-scale surge in the state of New York unless Kathy asked. And I can once again reassure all New Yorkers that request will never occur. So I reiterated that to him just as a reminder that that is the state of affairs as a directive from the president, that they are not going to have a surge anywhere near what we've seen in other states here in the state of New York.
Did he give you any indication that he agrees with that assessment?
I felt he did.
What was the governor, if you were there as well, what was the response, and how did you come away from the conversation about the incident in Buffalo? What do you feel like the requests were met with, you know, that he'll acquiesce, or like, you know, what was your reaction leading to that?
Yeah, again, as the governor said, we're not going to talk about what the borders are said. They did take, he and his staff took the list of family members and are going to look into whether or not that's something they can do.
Just so we're clear, why not mention, this is a public official on a huge national issue, the governor meets with them, why is that being kept in secrecy? Why not say what his reaction was? It seems it's a huge matter of public interest. Why would that be kept out of the public eye?
Certainly don't think that's what we're doing. We just walked out here to talk to all of you. I think that there was obviously what happened in Buffalo was a tragedy, and I think that the governor and Tom Homan agreed that what they are both interested in is in public safety, and certainly what we saw in Buffalo was not an act of public safety. I think there was agreement on that.
Do you agree with what she asked?
Was President Trump aware of today's meeting?
Director, did the borders are talk at all about the change in leadership at DHS? And if so, did they discuss the governor's concern that that change in leadership would potentially affect the federal, immigration surge in New York?
Certainly both acknowledged that there was a change in leadership at DHS at the beginning of the meeting, and the governor reiterated her position, as she has every time, that there is no need for a surge of federal officers in the state of New York, no need for an expansion in detention. I don't think that there's anything coming out of today that changes our position or our belief that right now there's no plans for a surge.
Was President Trump aware of today's meeting, and did he make any intent or any opinions known in the meeting? I know you can't talk about what Holman said, but was his presence felt in the room, the president's?
I don't know if the president was aware of today's meeting. That's a question for the federal government.
Jackie, the governor has previously said that the 287G agreement, specifically with the jails, is a precursor to building up jail capacity and is part of the surge tactics of the federal government. Based on the conversation that occurred today, does the governor have also reassurances that those jails are not in place since a surge is not coming, and therefore is it the administration's position that that needs to be part of the package of legislation that the governor hopes to pass?
Let me be really clear. What I walk away from this meeting is that there's no surge currently planned, right? There were not assurances beyond that. But the governor remains committed to the three pieces of policy that we've put forward, including our ban on 287G agreements and, frankly, any other formal agreements that allow the use of local jails for civil immigration detention. And she remains committed to that. We also would very much like that to move and move quickly. We're ready to take those actions as soon as our partners in the legislature are.
What is the whole of this one?
You'd have to ask someone else.
Just as far as the Hochul administration is concerned, the mere fact that this meeting was held, that Mr. Holman was on the phone, and that he physically came here to Albany, does that at minimum send some sort of message, and what is kind of the takeaway of that message?
Governor Hochul has, I think, been really consistent for 4+ years now. She's willing to meet with anyone who is willing to hear her out on what's important to New Yorkers and what's important to her as the leader of New York. And so she was encouraged to talk to Tom Homan coming out of her meeting at the NGA at the White House, and he suggested that he come to New York, and she was happy to take that meeting.
So did he promise that something like what happened in Buffalo won't happen again?
No promises were made in the meeting, and I'm not going to talk further about what he said in the meeting.
And then also, is there any, the proposal of the governor's is supposed to sunset in July 1st, 2029. Just curious why you would want to take those protections farther than July 1st, 2029.
I think the vast majority of Americans and the vast majority of New Yorkers have seen that under this president and this administration, the abuses we're seeing from ICE and CBP are frankly unprecedented. Those measures are meant to protect New Yorkers from those abuses.
So for this meeting today,
I think that will play out in the course of negotiations with the legislature.
Just talk about just potential changes to federal immigration enforcement under the new leadership. And I'm wondering if you also touched on this idea that immigration officers misrepresent themselves as local cops when they arrested people in Colombia.
Certainly, the governor urged the border czar to make changes to federal immigration enforcement. She reiterated the fact that when this president was elected, he said he was going to go after the worst of the worst, that's what many of his voters believed, and frankly, all Americans believed, and that is not what we've seen over the last year. And she encouraged the strategy moving forward to be a focus on, quote unquote, the worst of the worst, which is, not what we have seen to date. The incident in New York City at Columbia did not come up.
The governor, obviously, without saying what Mr. Coleman said, his agency has in the past kind of framed what happened in Buffalo, that, the man who was deceased had been belligerent, put up a fight, and, what does the governor feel about that narrative? I mean, is that something that you came away from the conversation feeling that Mr. Holman agreed that's not the narrative, or like?
I think the governor approaches situations like this on an incredibly human level, and I think people who know her know that. She sat with the widow and held the widow as she sobbed into her arms and told her about her husband, and looked at the child that has been left without a father. And I think that what the governor takes away from what happened in Buffalo is that it is an immense tragedy on a human level for this family, and as a matter of policy should never have happened. Thank you.